Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in as we kick off another week. What a chaotic weekend as America watched in real time yet another assassination attempt on President Donald Trump as he attended the White House Correspondents Dinner. We have the latest on the breaking weekend story. Also, accused gunman Cole Allen sent a sprawling, crazed manifesto to family members about 10 minutes before Saturday's attack. We'll hit the highlights of that in today's show, too. President Trump called 60 Minutes host disgraceful for reading the White House Correspondent Dinner shooting suspect's alleged manifesto on air, suggesting he was targeting the president because of the president's crimes. We'll share some of the highlights of that. And critics are slamming the security loopholes that allowed guests to check into the historic Washington Hilton Hotel without undergoing weapons screening from the outside, which ultimately allowed the accused gunman to check in with his weapons. It's a busy one. We got a lot of information to try to cram into today's show. Glad to have you along.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
So this was supposed to be one of Washington's most polished, button-up nights, the annual White House Correspondents Dinner, a room full of journalists, politicians, celebrities, everybody dressed up, speeches ready, cameras rolling, and then complete chaos. It started around 8:30 Saturday evening. Shots rang out inside the Washington Hilton. And just like that, in an instant, the ballroom filled with some of the most powerful people in the country turned into a scene of panic. As Americans, in many cases, was watching in real time. People diving under tables, Secret Service agents moving fast, voices shouting, confusion everywhere. More agents in that room than you can imagine. It's like they came out of the woodwork. Now, here's what we know. Authorities say a single gunman approached a security checkpoint, tried to force his way toward the event, armed with multiple weapons, including a long gun and a handgun that we know of. Secret Service stepped in immediately, and this is important. They didn't hesitate. They intercepted the suspect before he could make it into the main ballroom. During that confrontation, one federal agent was injured, thankfully protected by a vest, and the suspect was taken into custody. More on that in just a minute. Meanwhile, President Trump, along with his cabinet and other top officials, were rushed out of the room. That's protocol, and it worked exactly as designed. But let me just paint the picture for you. This wasn't some distant threat outside the building. Witnesses say the gunman was just literally feet away from being in the main ballroom where the attendees were. Think about that. Just literally feet away. Now, investigators believe this was politically motivated. The suspect reportedly sent writings beforehand expressing grievances to his family and will likely face attempted assassination charges. We have the accused shooter's manifesto that he sent to his family. We'll share some of the details of that in just a moment. This whole story takes a more serious turn, though, because what we're seeing here isn't just a security breach. It's another example of how heated, how personal, and just how dangerous the political climate has become in our country. You've got lawmakers from both parties saying the same thing. This shook them up. One congressman called it horrible. Others said it was surreal. And here's the bottom line. The system worked, but barely. How is this guy still alive? Would love to hear from some of my law enforcement friends. How are there that many agents? And if you were able to see the video like all of us did, and how he just ran through, and then you got all these agents suddenly pursuing him, multiple shots being fired. Why is he alive today? Now, we don't have all the details yet, don't know how many rounds were fired. But typically in a situation like this, those agents are shooting, they're unloading their guns in the suspect, not asking any questions. It raises some real questions, right? How did someone get that close with multiple weapons? Were there gaps in security at a high-profile event like this? And more broadly, what does this say about where we are as a country right now? Now, President Trump was on 60 Minutes last night. Did you catch any of that? And Norah O'Donnell asked if he thinks he was the target. Here's the exchange.
Mr. President, do you know if you were the target of the gunman?
I don't know. It sounded to me, I read a manifesto. He's radicalized. He was a Christian, a believer, and then he became an anti-Christian, and he had a lot of change. He's been going through a lot based on what he wrote. His brother complained about him and I think reported him to the police, and his sister likewise complained about him. His family was very concerned. He was probably a pretty sick guy.
I was in the room, not far from you, Mr. President. Could hear what sounded like gunshots or commotion.
Right.
People nearby could smell the gunpowder. Everybody hit the floor. How worried were you that there were going to be injuries?
I wasn't worried. I understand life. We live in a crazy world.
You are sitting there next to the First Lady. The entertainer named Oz Perlman is talking to you. He's known as the mentalist. When did you know something was wrong?
Right around that point. In fact, you can see the expression on the First Lady's face, and your president of the evening, chairman or president or both, who was doing a great job, by the way.
Weijia Jiang,
your
CBS
associate,
News.
yeah, who's a terrific person. They were asking the name of Caroline's child that he didn't know, I guess. But
Your
he was
press
able
secretary is expecting, and he was trying to guess the baby's name.
That's right.
You mentioned the First Lady. Her face, she looked very alarmed. Was she scared?
Well, I don't want to say, and people don't like having it said that they were scared, but certainly, I mean, who wouldn't be when you have a situation like that? By that time, I think she realized ahead of time that that was more of a bullet than it was a tray. And she was, I looked at her face just a little while ago before I came. I saw the scene. They played it for me in, pretty good close-up. And she looked very upset about what just took place, yeah.
Of course, there's the photo of the moment that the First Lady has that look on her face. It's being widely distributed when she realized what was going on. Now, a little later in the interview, President Trump blasted the 60 Minutes host to her face as she read portion of the alleged shooter's manifesto. O'Donnell quoted directly from the suspect's writings, reading a section that appears to refer to the president or administration officials as pedophiles, rapists, and traitors. She then asked for the president's reaction. Here's what he said.
He appears to reference a motive in it. He writes this, quote, administration officials, they are targets. And he also wrote this, I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I was waiting for you to read that because I knew you would, because you're horrible people, horrible people. Yeah, he did write that. I'm not a rapist. I didn't rape anybody.
But, do you think he was referring to you?
Excuse me. I'm not a pedophile. You read that crap from some sick person. I got associated with all stuff that has nothing to do with me. I was totally exonerated. Your friends on the other side of the plate are the ones that were involved with, let's say, Epstein or other things. But I said to myself, I'll do this interview, and they'll probably, I read the manifesto, he's a sick person, but you should be ashamed of yourself reading that, because I'm not any of those things.
Mr. President,
and I
these
was
are
never,
the gunman's words.
Excuse me. You shouldn't be reading that on 60 Minutes. You're a disgrace. But go ahead, let's finish the interview.
Did you see the look on her face when he called her out? He was ready for her. He knew she was going to ask it, and he was ready. He knew what he was going to say, and he's right. I mean, she throws that out there, pedophiles, rapists, traitors, knowing that the shooter or the accused shooter, the alleged shooter, whatever, was talking about the president. And then she tries to play dumb. Like, well, I don't know that he was talking about you, Mr. President. Maybe he's talking about others in the administration. She knew exactly who this young man was referencing in that manifesto. And she was trying to embarrass the president. Why he sat down with her, I have no clue. But, he's not afraid of anybody. He'll do that. He'll sit down and give them the opportunity to hang themselves, and that's exactly what Norah O'Donnell did. You don't have a weight problem. You have a body that's in survival mode, and no medication, crash diet, or app is going to fix that. Joey Hudson here, Ozempic, Wegovy. These GLP-1 drugs are exploding in popularity, and for some, they're a useful tool, but they don't address why your body started storing fat in the first place. At PhD Weight Loss, they treat the unwanted weight as a symptom, a signal that your metabolism, hormones, and stress response need some attention. When they correct those, the weight comes off naturally, and more importantly, it stays off. Because they're not just helping you lose weight, they're helping you increase health span and extend longevity. Right now, call PhD Weight Loss and mention Joey Hudson. You'll get 2 weeks free in the program, and they'll pay for your food. That's a $1,500 value, completely free. Call 864-644-1900. Do it right now. Mention Joey Hudson. Again, that's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. No more guessing, no more short-term fixes, just a smarter way forward. According to the New York Post, the brother of the alleged White House Correspondents Dinner gunman, Cole Allen, reported the Wacko's Manifesto to Connecticut police about 2 hours after the incident. Now, if you look at the timeline, some are saying maybe even before the bullet started flying. We're not quite sure yet. The brother called the New London Police Department around 10:50 p.m. Saturday, a little over 2 hours after Allen allegedly tried to barge through security with a shotgun and a handgun. The sibling reported that the 31-year-old Allen allegedly sent him minutes before storming the D.C. dinner. Again, that was about 8:35, sending President Trump and members of his cabinet running for cover. Police initially said only a person who expressed concern called to share information pertinent to the matter, but Connecticut Insider reported the caller was, in fact, Allen's brother. His brother got married last year. His wife is expecting a baby, neighbors told the Post. Police were posted at the apartment complex where the couple lives on the second floor. So what did the manifesto say? It's 1,052 words, by the way. It was obtained by the New York Post. It was signed Cole, Cold Force Friendly Federal Assassin Allen. Outlined his rules of engagement for the shooting and stated he believed it was his righteous duty to target administration officials. So he starts off by saying, "Hello, everybody. So I may have given a lot of people a surprise today. Let me start off by apologizing to everyone whose trust I abused. I apologize to my parents for saying I had an interview without specifying it was the most wanted. I apologize to my colleagues and students for saying I had a personal emergency. By the time anyone reads this, I probably most certainly do need to go to the ER, but can hardly call that not a self-inflicted status. You see, he suspected that he wouldn't survive this. And again, I don't know how he was not even shot. He goes on to write, I apologize to all the people I traveled next to, all the workers who handled my luggage, and all the other non-targeted people at the hotel who I put in danger simply by being near. I apologize to everyone who was abused and or murdered before this, to all those who suffered before I was able to attempt this, to all who may still suffer after, regardless of my success or failure. I don't expect forgiveness, but if I could have seen any other way to get this close, I would have taken it. Again, my sincere apology. So he starts off by apologizing to everybody. He says, on to why I did this. I am a citizen of the United States of America. What my representatives do reflects on me, and I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. You heard, this is what Norah O'Donnell questioned the president on, and when the president called her out. In parentheses, he said, well, to be completely honest, I was no longer willing a long time ago, but this is the first real opportunity I've had to do something about it. While I'm discussing this, I'll also go over my expected rules of engagement, probably in a terrible format, but I'm not military, so too bad. Administration officials, not including Mr. Patel, they are targets. Prioritize from highest ranking to lowest. And he says Secret Service. They are targets only if necessary and to be incapacitated non-lethally if possible, a.k.a. I hope they're wearing body armor because center mass with shotguns messes up people who aren't. So you see, it sounds like he's not necessarily wanting to harm security, Secret Service particularly, and hoping that their body armor will protect them. He says hotel security, not targets if at all possible, a.k.a. unless they shoot at me. Capitol Police, same as hotel security. National Guard, same as hotel security. Hotel employees, not targets at all, he said. Guests, not targets at all. He says, in order to minimize casualties, I will also be using buckshot rather than slugs, less penetration through walls. Interesting. He says, I would still go through most everyone here to get to the targets if it were absolutely necessary, on the basis that people chose to attend a speech by a pedophile, rapist, and traitor and are thus complicit, but I really hope it doesn't come to that. Then he has a section titled Rebuttals to Objections. Number 1, as a Christian, you should turn the other cheek. He says, turning the other cheek is for when you yourself are oppressed. I'm not the person raped in a detention camp. I'm not the fisherman executed without trial. I'm not a school kid blown up or a child starved or a teenage girl abused by the many criminals in this administration. Turning the other cheek when, quote, someone else is oppressed is not Christian behavior. It is complicity in the oppressor's crimes. Then his second objection. This is not a convenient time for you to do this. His rebuttal. I need whoever thinks this way to take a couple minutes and realize that the world isn't about them. Do you think that when I see someone raped or murdered or abused, I should walk on because it would be inconvenient for people who aren't the victim? This was the best timing and chance of success I could come up with. Objection number 3. You didn't get them all. His rebuttal, got to start somewhere. Objection 4, as a half black, half white person, you shouldn't be the one doing this. Rebuttal, I don't see anyone else picking up the slack. His objection number 5, yield unto Caesar what is Caesar's. He says the United States of America are truly ruled by the law, not by any one or several people. Insofar as representatives and judges do not follow the law, no one is required to yield them anything so unlawfully ordered. He said, I'd also like to extend my appreciation to a great many people since I will not likely be able to talk with them again unless the Secret Service is astoundingly incompetent. He says, thank you to my family, both personal and church, for your love over these 31 years. Thank you to my friends. Thank you to my colleagues over many jobs. Thank you to my students for your enthusiasm and love of learning. Thank you to the many acquaintances I've met in person and online for short interactions and long-term relationships. Thank you all for everything. Sincerely, Cold Force friendly federal assassin, Allen. So he went in there thinking he was going to be an assassin, that he was going to kill the president. Now, he added a PS. Okay, now that all the sappy stuff is done, what the hell is the Secret Service doing? Sorry, gonna rant a bit here. Drop the formal tone. Like I expected security cameras at every bend, bugged hotel rooms, armed agents every 10 feet, metal detectors out the wazoo. What I got, who knows, maybe they're pranking me, is nothing. He says, no damn security, not in transport, not in the hotel, not in the event. And I'll have to say, he raises some legitimate questions. So as a result of the weekend's developments, the White House is reportedly weighing new security measures by or for President Trump after 3 attempts now that we know of on his life, including possibly having the president wear a bulletproof vest, according to the New York Post. Also, Fox News' correspondent Peter Doocy reported the same thing, saying that there are discussions underway at the highest levels about whether President Trump is going to have to start wearing a bulletproof vest for future events in the public, Doocy reported. President's now, again, 3 legitimate threats on his life. 3 armed madmen, one of whom came within centimeters of fatally striking his head in Butler, Pennsylvania. Now, according to the rambling manifesto that I just shared with you a minute ago, this young man was targeting Trump and any other, quote, administration officials he could aim his gun at. The president was also targeted by gunmen twice during the 2024 presidential campaign. On July 13th, Thomas Crooks grazed the president's ear, killed a beloved firefighter, and critically wounded 2 other Trump supporters when he opened fire on the president from a rooftop in Butler, Pennsylvania. Crooks was killed when Trump's security detail fired back. 2 months later, Ryan Ruth camped out for what is said 12 hours in a sniper's nest with a rifle at the edge of Trump International West Palm Beach Golf Club as, again, then candidate Donald Trump was playing golf. Ruth was sentenced to life in prison just a couple of months ago. This all happened so fast. Remember, this was the first White House Correspondents Dinner that President Trump has attended, as he has boycotted the previous ones. One of the questions, and getting back to Norah O'Donnell's 60 Minutes interview, one of the questions she asked the president was about what was happening in those early seconds after the shots were fired, when people were trying to decide, what was it, really shots? Was it pans being dropped, or what was it? And she asked about the Secret Service getting the president and the first lady to safety. There's been a lot of questions about what appeared to look like the president falling down as he was taken out of the room. According to President Trump, Secret Service told him to get to the ground.
It looked chaotic. At one point, you were down. What was happening?
Well, what happened is it was a little bit me. I wanted to see what was happening, and I wasn't making it that easy for him. I wanted to see what was going on. And by that time, we started to realize maybe it was a bad problem, different kind of a problem, bad one, and different than what would be normal noise from a ballroom, which you hear all the time. And I was surrounded by great people, and I probably made them act a little bit more slowly. I said, wait a minute, let me see, wait a minute. So, I'm telling guys.
Just at that moment where it looks like you go sort of down with the service, you were telling them to wait?
Well, no, what happened is then I started walking with them. I started walking, and they said, please go down on the floor. So I went down, and First Lady went down also, but we were asked to go down by the agents as I was walking. In other words,
they wanted you almost to crawl.
I was standing up, pretty much. I was standing up and then turned around the opposite direction and started pretty much walking out, pretty tall, a little bent over because I'm not looking to be standing too tall. And but I was walking out. It was pretty about halfway there, and they said, please go down to the floor, please go down to the floor. So I dropped to the floor, so did the First Lady.
Now, after I heard this, I went back to look at the video because this was kind of interesting. And it kind of made sense because Trump is just curious like that. And if you watch the video, knowing this now, it does kind of seem like he's just like a kid looking around, you know, what's going on? I want to see this for myself. But of course, the Secret Service agents, knowing that as long as he's standing up, he's on a riser anyway. He's at the highest part of that room because he's sitting at the front table. And Secret Service, I'm sure, is wanting him to be down as quickly as possible. You also, in that there's a video that's being circulated that is behind the table. It looks like it's kind of staged right from the table, and you're looking down and you see the First Lady getting down as well as the President starting to kind of walk. He kind of stoops over, then he goes to the ground. The President also talked about what everyone is talking about on just how fast this guy was able to storm the area. President suggesting maybe the NFL needs to be looking at him.
I mean, he ran like I think the NFL should sign him up. He was fast. When you look at it on tape, it's almost like a blur.
Right.
But it was amazing because as soon as they saw that, you could see them draw their guns. They were so professional, aim their guns, and then they took them down immediately.
Now, an interesting part of this, and later in that same interview, the president suggested to Ms. O'Donnell that this is just another reason that they need to build the big ballroom that he has proposed for the White House. And it seems that other people are thinking the same way now. Because here's what you need to know. Since 1968, this celebrated White House Correspondents Dinner has been held at the Washington Hilton. It's a hotel complex. It's about a mile and a half north of the White House. But due to the fact that it's a hotel, this young man, Cole Thomas Allen, was able to book a stay and sneak weapons in there because he was one of, hundreds of other guests at the hotel. And in a nice hotel like this, they want to accommodate their guest. That's why President Trump and his allies now believe that a secure ballroom facility is a must at the White House. Now, you know the East Wing has already been torn down. They started construction on the new ballroom, and they have paused it because of a federal judge. President Trump posted on Truth Social, "What happened last night is exactly the reason that our great military, Secret Service, law enforcement, and for different reasons, every president for the last 150 years have been demanding that a large, safe, and secure ballroom be built on the grounds of the White House. This event would never have happened with the military top secret ballroom currently under construction in the White House. It cannot be built fast enough," he said. Now, again, technically, the dinner is hosted by the White House Correspondents Association, which represents reporters who cover the administration. It's up to them to decide where it's held. President Trump, as you may recall, was ridiculed by President Barack Obama when he attended the White House Correspondents Dinner in 2011. The President Trump has skipped the event every year as his presidency, except this one. This was the first. But he has indicated that a future White House ballroom could be used to accommodate the White House Correspondents' Dinner in the future. Even some Democrats are now agreeing. Senator John Fetterman, he said, quote, "We were front and center. That venue wasn't built to accommodate an event with the line of succession for the U.S. government. After witnessing last night, drop the TDS Trump derangement syndrome and build the White House ballroom for events exactly like these." And he's not the only one. Others saying the same thing. Tom Fitton, president of Judicial Watch. "Tonight is one more reason for the new White House Trump ballroom." Representative Randy Fine from Florida wrote on X, "We'd better never again hear a peep from anyone complaining about a White House ballroom." President Trump's bid to construct this 90,000 square foot ballroom larger than the actual White House itself, has been bogged down by the litigation, particularly from the National Trust for Historic Preservation, which has raised process concerns with how the president has pursued it. Last month, U.S. District Judge Richard Leon blocked President Trump from carrying on with the project, so it stalled. Some members of Congress are saying, in addition to John Fetterman, that it's time to install it. Several members of Congress saying that they will, as early as today, file legislation for congressional approval to move forward. That it's time to move on to get this done. Senator Tim Sheehy wrote, "It is an embarrassment to the strongest nation on earth that we cannot host gatherings in our nation's capital, including ones attended by our president, without the threat of violence and attempted assassinations. A president of any party should be able to host events in a secure area without attendees worrying about their safety." You think the ballroom's going to be built now? Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. So as we wrap up today's show, I want to go back to a question that I asked earlier, and that is, how did this attempted assassination happen on Saturday at the Hilton? There are a lot of questions that need answers. And there's literally a chorus of bipartisan criticism mounting over the security loopholes at the venue where this took place, which even the alleged gunman mocked in his manifesto that he sent to his family, that he's just surprised that Secret Service and the D.C. police and hotel security did not have more hurdles for him to have to pass through. Now, critics are slamming these security loopholes that allowed guests, like the accused shooter, to check into the historic Washington Hilton without undergoing weapon screening from the outside. Authorities say that's how the alleged shooter was able to sneak a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives into the building where President Trump, most of his cabinet, the vice president, and many top members of Congress, not to mention the elite of the media world, were mingling with journalists. Now, again, the Hilton is one of many convention-type centers in D.C. Hilton's one of the classics. Remember, this is where the assassination attempt on President Ronald Reagan took place, where John Hinckley was out on the sidewalk waiting on the president to come out of the building. Now, as has been the standard practice at past White House dinners like this, the weapons screening took place at a checkpoint on the floor above the Hilton's ballroom, where the event was taking place, according to reports. Representative Mike Lawler posted on X, while the security perimeter outside of the ballroom worked, and the Secret Service and federal law enforcement acted swiftly to secure the ballroom and move the president and high-level officials out of harm's way. The fact is there were numerous glaring security issues, he wrote. Mr. Lawler raised concerns with the fact that there were no photo ID checks or a verified list of attendees, that the building was still open to the public, and that only metal detectors were at the ballroom checkpoint. He said, without getting into details, I will just say, there was not a good handle on how many members of Congress were at the event and where they were in the room. There needs to be a complete and thorough after action as to how the gunman got from his hotel room into a secure area with numerous guns. Valid questions. And I can assure you that this will be studied, it will be dissected, and hopefully it will prepare Secret Service and security not to allow this to happen again. Now, this young man, allegedly, again, armed to the teeth, as you can see in the video, tried to run through the metal detector and open fire on police before he was taken down. Still, don't know why he wasn't shot. Authorities say there were multi-layered security for the event and that it worked as designed. The Secret Service said President Trump, who survived, as we mentioned earlier, 2 prior assassination attempts, was never in danger. Those, what many believe were lax procedures, though, allowed journalists and other guests to attend parties at the Washington Hilton before the main event without having a ticket to the dinner. So you had a lot of people coming in and out. You had a lot of media coming in and out. Or actually, you don't know who was coming in and out because there were so many pre-dinner parties. Fellow New York Representative Richie Torres, a Democrat, said this: no security screening was required to enter an event featuring the President of the United States, the Speaker of the House, cabinet secretaries, and members of Congress. He posted this on X. This failure of even the most basic security protocols is inexplicable and demands an immediate investigation. And as I mentioned, in the alleged shooter's manifesto that he wrote just prior to going downstairs to the event center, he mocked what he called, quote, insane lack of security at the venue, saying, if I was an Iranian agent instead of an American citizen, I could have brought a damn Ma-Deuce heavy machine gun in here and no one would have noticed. I mean, he's just gloating in the manifesto. He said, the one thing that I immediately noticed walking into the hotel is a sense of arrogance. I walk in with multiple weapons and not a single person there considers the possibility that I could be a threat. Allen had a hotel booked at the Washington Hilton during his attempted assassination. It allowed him to move freely through the building, even as the nation's top leaders gathered there. Nobody questioned him. Again, critics underscore how the hotel was open to other patrons while hosting the president, the first lady, the vice president, Speaker of the House, a large group of the cabinet, and again, other high-ranking officials, not only in government, but in media as well. But I guess this really just, once again, shows if somebody is determined to try to hurt other people, to try to kill the president, to try to take out members of Congress, to try to hurt anybody, if they're determined to do it, I don't know that there's ever enough security that's going to stop them, because they're going to get creative just like this young man did. Traveled across the country, supposedly by train from his home in California. His family lives here on the East Coast, in Connecticut, but he was living in California. Reportedly traveled on train across the country. Evidently been planning this, and just took advantage of the situation. He knew that the Hilton was probably going to try to cater to their upscale clientele, to their guest. He fell right in with that. And again, I can understand that. I've never been to the Hilton in D.C., but I've been to other Hilton properties, and they're all about service. And yes, they had they had the President of the United States there. They had this big dinner, which they've had the White House Correspondents Dinner there since 1968 as a tradition. But at the same time, they also know they have to continue to service their other guests, their other customers. So they're going to make it as peaceful and as comfortable as they possibly can. And this young man knew that. This young man took advantage of that security lapse, and it almost worked. It came real close. That's it for today's show. Tara's up next, followed by Mike Gallagher, Bill Frady, Charlie James. We're back again tomorrow at 5 a.m. and your first cup of coffee on Sunrise, Carolina. Until then, folks, remember, God's got this. He's still in control. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined our mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Just click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, find me on YouTube. Be sure and like, subscribe, follow me on my YouTube channel. Just search for Joey Hudson. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Be sure and forward this edition of Just the Truth to some friends. Just click on the share button. Send it to a few of your contacts, because if we're going to build our community and if we're going to win in November, we got to build an army of conservatives. The way we beat Joe Biden is through educating people, and no better way than encouraging them to listen to Just the Truth. Hey, keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Your emails always welcome as well. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Don't forget to take advantage of the MyPillow special, $25 for the My Towels 6-piece towel set when you use promo code Joey. Just go to mypillow.com.